distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I am Khadija Rahman,
And I'm Bisma Akram,
researchers at the National Institute of Maritime Affairs. We are delighted to have you rejoin us as we continue with the proceedings of the International Maritime Conference 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to welcome our honorable chief guest for this session, President NEMA, Vice Admiral Dr. Ahmed Saeed, 𝐏𝐈𝐿 military. We extend a very warm welcome and express our gratitude for gracing this occasion with your presence, sir. Session 4 will focus on the economic potential of Pakistan's marine and coastal assets under the theme Investment in Blue Economy, Opportunities for Sustainable Development and International Cooperation.
ladies and gentlemen, we now move forward to a series of focused presentations that will delve deeper into the potential of blue economy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our first speaker of the session, Mr. 𝐒𝐶 founder and chairman of 𝐿 Limited Liability Company at the United States of America. He will speak on the topic, Mapping the Wealth Beneath, Quantifying Deep Sea Resources Within Pakistan's Exclusive Economic Zone. The stage is yours, sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much to Pakistan Navy and NEMA for inviting me to this session. I would like to start, first of all, just as an icebreaker, to congratulate Zohran Mamdani for becoming the mayor of New York. Congratulations to people of Karachi, because we have something in common with him. And also to people of Africa, we have something in common with him. He's an African, he's an Asian, he's a Muslim, and he's an American. So we're all very proud of him. Also, I would like to congratulate Vice Admiral Ahmed Saeed on becoming a doctor. In Quran, there's a story about Solomon and the ant. I think a lot of us have heard about Solomon and the ant. I would briefly talk about it. That an ant says that go back and hide in your houses. Solomon is coming with his lashkar or army. And Solomon hears about that and he says, I better take a different route or protect them. So God gave Solomon the capacity to hear the ants. But along with that, he also gave them the responsibility to look after the young guys, the little ones. So we, in this century, have been given, by the grace of Almighty Allah, capacity to see a lot of little guys, whether they're on sea floor, whether they're on the ground. And I think with that capacity, we also have added responsibility. Added responsibility to do our stuff, whatever needs to be done, whether it is war, whether it is business, or whether it is research, with added responsibility. From here, I'll take a switch. We'll completely shift focus My talk is actually about creating Pakistan Maritime Portal, an open source AI-powered portal that will aggregate all maritime data and which can be used by researchers, by investors, as well as by military purpose institutions if they need to. The vision is to create a unified open source platform integrating all oceanographic, bathymetric, and resource data for Pakistan's 290,000 square kilometers of exclusive economic zone. Why it matters? I think all of us know that it can give us a better tool for decision making, for attracting investment. We have a lot of this information lying around in different places in Pakistan, whether it is with National Oceanographic Organization, whether it is for Pakistan Maritime institutions, but all that information needs to be aggregated. It needs to be put together so that that data can give us the vision to make better decisions. So these are some of the core components of the portal. I think most of you guys would know about them. They should be display layer, resource layer. But one thing that I would like to talk about is integrating a policy layer, which is UNFC, United Nations Framework for Resources. This is an internationally recognized framework to classify resources. So our portal will do that, and this, inshallah, will attract quality investors around the world to make investment decisions as well as their environmental sustainability decisions. And also I think, is there a way to go back? The key part of the portal would be that it needs to be an open source so that universities, the startups, and academia, the investors, they can use those resources for whatever their needs are. So these are some of the technologies which are already available now in the market, which includes the AUVs, the ROVs, satellite and remote sensing, bathymetric data, data fusion. We can use that to make this a very, very vibrant platform. This is a visualization of some of these technologies which are already there, which are already available, and which our portal will, inshallah, be using. This is a bit of technical stuff about how the architecture of the software would be. I have a little bit of a software background, so maybe not of a lot of interest, but for some technical people it might be. This is something which I think maybe someday I will live to regret. who will be the custodian of this portal and this data. I have recommended that it should be NEMA, but NEMA hopefully will not turn into another bureaucracy and try to hold on to stuff and create barriers for collaboration. These are some global benchmarks of certain portals which are already there for certain countries, and we espouse to be something of similar quality or maybe better. This is a brief roadmap we have outlined to establish this portal. We need all the support we can get from all the stakeholders within Pakistan maritime sector, including Pakistan Navy, Pakistan oceanographic organizations, as well as academia. And we need their collaboration to make this data available. Since morning, a lot of people have been talking about technology, so I think there's not enough, much that needs to be talked about. I think we all realize that the future is of technology and using it for improving our productivity in whichever field we are in. This is, in conclusion, my proposal. My proposal is a recommendation to have something of Pakistan maritime portal in operation by 2027. Which is an aggregation of all available data and which is a open source resource. Open source resources are based on complete accessibility and with the commitment that when you use that data for some other purposes, you always share it back. And that's how that ecosystem grows. So sharing back would be a key factor, whether it is the academia or the industry. They must share back to make this a portal for the future generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jahanzeb, for your insightful presentation on quantifying deep sea resources and highlighting Pakistan's vast untapped potential within its exclusive economic zone.
Please welcome our next speaker, Mr. Shigeru Tanaka, the Asia Regional Lead for the Deep Sea Conservation Coalition. He will be joining us online through video link and will speak on the topic, Unlocking Pakistan's Deep Sea Mining Potential, Challenges, Opportunities and Investment Pathways. Mr. Tanaka will share his valuable insights into the complexities and potential economic benefits of deep sea mining.
Thank you very much for that introduction. I hope you can hear me now. A good day to everyone in attendance, and thank you for the great honor in allowing me to speak at this very important and prestigious event concerning the maritime environment surrounding the great country of Pakistan. I'm sorry that I cannot be there in person, but I'm very happy to be able to contribute to this very important event online. And as introduced, I will be speaking about unlocking the deep sea mining potentials, challenges, opportunities, and investment pathways. The deep sea has been identified as a source for various types of rare metals since the latter half of the 20th century. So in that sense, we have been working on trying to unlock the resources of the deep sea for over 60 years. And it may very well seem that the time to unlock that potential may be imminent. However, after decades of research and technological development, I must frankly say that currently the challenges still seem to far outweigh the opportunities. In the limited time that I have here, I will try to shed some light on some of the most recent situations surrounding that deep sea mining. First of all, we have environmental considerations. There are many outstanding environmental issues surrounding deep sea mining that have not met a resolve. The fact of the matter is, we simply do not know enough about the deep sea. As my previous speaker has mentioned, there's very high importance in understanding the deep sea, having an information resource that allows us to better put together the various data that we have on the deep sea. Deep sea scientists over the globe, not just in Pakistan, I believe, but over the globe, deep sea scientists still make the case that 90% or more of the species in the deep sea are not scientifically documented enough to be able to make any scientific assessment ahead of commercial scale deep sea mining. The actual extent regarding the plumes that may come from deep sea mining is also unknown. And so when we have situations like this article from this year in August suggesting that there's still undiscovered ecosystems in the deep sea, and we don't even yet know what kind of environmental impacts may be caused by deep sea mining, then we are in a situation where we are not even able to tell what will happen to the deep sea when we begin deep sea mining. And that has become a very big concern in the international community. And in addition to not knowing enough about the deep sea, we do know some things. And there has been concerning research that has been going on. For example, that now we even have a peer-reviewed study that suggests some deep sea mineral ores contain substantial amounts of radioactive material in forms that raise concerns about internal exposure for not only the wildlife, but also the workers who will be involved in the processing. There's also a study that suggests that the mineral ores that are found in the deep sea are actually sources of oxygen, allowing life to even exist in the dark seabed where plant-based planktons cannot provide oxygen through photosynthesis. This means there could be a source of oxygen without plants producing the oxygen. And this becomes a very fascinating place of science where it might bring us to the hint of how life has even begun on this earth. So there's so much fascination here that my colleagues who specialize in marine biology can probably go on for hours. But the key point here is that when it comes to environmental concerns, it is that simply we do not know enough about the deep sea and that more information needs to be gathered and put together so that we can have a sane decision on how to evaluate the impacts of deep sea mining. That is where we are at, and it is a major challenge ahead of us. Now, secondly, we have some legal concerns surrounding deep sea mining. The International Seabed Authority, the ISA, is the UN body that regulates deep sea mining in areas beyond national jurisdictions. And at the ISA, in July of this year, the global community was not able to bring countries to agree on a draft international regulation on the rules to manage deep sea mining. And to be clear, it was not even close. There's so much disagreement that in the previous years, the ISA Secretariat would seek a time-bound roadmap saying, okay, we may not have been able to agree on this one, but we will try to agree maybe 1 year later or 2 years later. They had those time-bound roadmaps in anticipation of agreement with the regulations. But this year, the ISA was not even able to bring an agreement on that. So it's evident to anyone that the regulations were far from reaching an agreement. They merely agreed to consider a full review of where the agreements and disagreements were, and to set up future thematic discussions to reach a better agreement. This means that international rules and regulations are far from being concluded. Now, some may point out that the rules set by the ISA only are only guidelines that govern mining in the area outside national jurisdictions, and that the regulations will not apply to deep-sea mining taking place within national jurisdictions. However, this thinking is more, I would say, perhaps closer to recklessness rather than optimism. And that is because under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, exercise of a state's sovereign right to exploit their natural resources driving from the deep sea must be, and I quote the law, the international agreement, it must be in accordance with their duty to protect and preserve the marine environment, end quote. This should be understood to mean that once the regulations to protect the marine environment in the area beyond national jurisdictions are fixed and entered into force, the domestic regulations governing each EEZ and continental shelf must also be at least comparable to these international regulations. So what does that mean? That means deep-sea mining is a costly venture that will take years to reap meaningful profit margins. But what many investors are concerned about is that even if a country can allow deep-sea mining to take place before the international regulations are agreed to, the rules of the game can and will be changed as international regulations are negotiated and entered into force. What can be permitted now may easily have to be canceled due to the international negotiations coming in after the fact that domestic mining has begun. Frankly, international negotiations are in a situation now that offers us very little idea about what the final regulations may look like. Without any idea on how stringent the rules will be, it is simply too risky of an investment. Imagine a medicine that has not yet been approved, but that you know it will be regulated, and you just don't know how it will be regulated, how strict it will be, or how loose it will be. In that situation, will anyone be willing to make the multi-billion-dollar investment in a factory when you don't even know what the rules of the game will be? And most wise investors will stay out of that type of an investment. That is not to say that the investment opportunities will never come. It's just that right now does not seem to be the moment to try to put in that money. And so what then are the pathways to unlocking and investing in deep-sea mining as a new blue economy of the decade? First of all, we must acknowledge the fact that much more scientific research has to back up any safe investment in the industry. So in that, I believe I am in line with my previous speaker who pushed for a portal, a place where information is shared, and to value more research on the marine environment. Now, right now, it is a clear testament to see that nearly 1,000 marine experts are now signed on to a joint statement calling for a global moratorium on deep-sea mining. And this is because they acknowledge that more research has to be done. The International Union for the Conservation of Nature, IUCN, has repeatedly reaffirmed that much more scientific research must be conducted to assess any deep-sea mining. This year, they went so far as to suggesting that maybe some parts of the deep sea should also be considered a no-go zone for mining, considering its environmental and cultural uniqueness. Secondly, the negotiations of the ISA must at least approach the end of the road. So far, this is beyond any one country's control, and we have to wait for those negotiations to take place. Thirdly, the international business sector must be convinced that this is a worthwhile investment. With the two big concerns I just mentioned, business sectors are generally distancing themselves from deep-sea mining at the moment. They're not doing this only to try to look like environmentally friendly companies. They are doing it more to signify that they take supply chain risks seriously and that they manage their supply chain well for safe, long-term business assurances. And bodies outside the ISA, such as the United Nations Environment Program Finance Initiative, UNEP-FI, they have made it clear that they will not consider any investment in deep-sea mining to be a part of what they define as the universe of the blue economy. This is because it is such an unstable investment opportunity, at the moment at least. This means that even if technical barriers to protect the environment are met and international regulations suddenly approach the finish line, there are still major business negotiations to be had to make any use of the minerals obtained. If there are no entities willing to handle what has now been metaphorically and literally considered too toxic to handle, the potentials of the minerals cannot be unlocked. To demonstrate an example, the US may soon unilaterally approve deep-sea mining by US-based companies in the high seas. Well, we all know the unpredictable tendency of the current administration. This was beyond what many of us had anticipated. Now, unilateral mining of the deep sea completely undermines international law and order and is not taken very well by the international community. Because right now, over 40 countries are saying that we should be more hesitant and take it slow on deep sea mining. If the ISA Council, with all the disagreements, can agree on one thing, it is at least that they are unanimous in saying that the US neglection of international laws and norms is completely unacceptable. So they went so far as opening an investigation into contractors that aim to take part in this. Negotiators in Japan, endeavoring into deep-sea mining, have all taken. Now, in one of Japan's most prominent economic journals have summed it up very well. The treasure hunt is still a long ways to go. But you may be concerned that some countries might jump the gun and recklessly actually for a moratorium, saying that no country jumps the gun. We all understand that much more science is needed and that actually a global pause to deep sea mining, global agreement to say we will not yet do deep sea mining, at least until the science is in. That type of an agreement might actually be the best pragmatic means to unlock the fortunes in the future for future generations from the deep sea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tanaka, for sharing your perspective. Your address was thought-provoking and highly inspiring.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Commodore Ehsan Ahmed Khan, 𝐒𝐚 𝐕 Military, Deputy President, Maritime Center of Excellence, Pakistan Navy War College, Lahore. He will present on the subject Integrating Naval Modernization, Indigenous Defense Production and Blue Economy, Building a Self-Reliant Maritime Future for Pakistan. You're welcome to the stage, sir.
Vice Admiral 𝐒𝐚 𝐕 Military, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. It's indeed an honor for me to be on this podium today, and my greatest gratitude to the President Nima, both incoming and outgoing, having given me this opportunity to stand here on a very important forum where the maritime future of our country is being discussed threadbare, and where the convergence of industrial and economic aspiration comes to a place from where we can draw our decisions for future as well. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout the history, the seas have not only connected continents, but also shaped civilization. From Phoenician traders to British admirals, the story of global power is, above all, the story of sea power. As an American historian and strategist, Alfred Theron argued in The Influence of Sea Power Upon History. And he said, and I quote, "Control of the seas through commerce, naval capacity, maritime industry determines the rise and fall of nations." His English counterpart, Sir Julian Corbett, later expanded this vision and asserted that command of the sea is as much about sustaining trade and logistics as it is about projecting force. Ladies and gentlemen, these insights remain strikingly relevant for Pakistan today. With 1,000+ kilometers coastline, access to the Arabian Sea, and proximity to the world's busiest waterways and choke points, like the Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb, maritime strength is not a luxury, but a strategic necessity for Pakistan. To secure this space, Pakistan must modernize its navy, strengthen indigenous defense production, and expand its blue economy, not as an isolated effort, but as interlinked component of one national maritime ecosystem. My central thesis here is simple. Investment in naval modernization and indigenous defense production is not a cost to the state. It is an investment in national economic growth. Every shipyard built for naval production becomes a facility capable of constructing commercial vessels, offshore platforms, and ocean energy structures. Every engineer trained for naval systems integration can later serve the blue economy in ocean research, smart ports, and ship repairs. Every innovation in composites, propulsion, and AI-based logistics multiplies civilian benefits across fisheries, coastal energy, and maritime transport. This approach has been proven by leading maritime powers. Although many models are available to justify this argument, however, given the time constraint, I will be covering only 4 models here. South Korea offers the model of dual-use maritime developments. Hyundai Heavy Industries builds both Aegis destroyers for the Republic of Korean Navy and LNG ship supertank within shared facilities. Hanwha Ocean, formerly called as Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering, produces KSS-2 and KSS-3 submarines, while also designs commercial carriers, advanced propulsion, and automation systems. Korea Research Institute of Ships and Ocean Engineering develops autonomous vessels, green propulsion, and underwater robotics for both naval and civilian markets. Turkey's success story is equally enlightening. Its national shipbuilding vision targets both defense and self-sufficiency and maritime export growth. Companies like STM and ASFAT, operating under the hybrid public-private framework, produces frigates, corvettes, submarines, and logistic ships while supporting commercial shipbuilding and port logistics. The same engineers who design naval systems also develop maritime softwares and port management tools. China institutionalized integration through its civil-military fusion strategy. China State Shipbuilding Corporation, now merged with China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation, builds PLA Navy ships alongside LNG carriers and container ships. Subsidiaries like Hudong Zhonghua and Dalian Shipbuilding operates as dual-use facilities serving both PLA Navy and global clients. The China Ocean Engineering Shanghai Company and Sanya Deep Sea Science and Technology Center links ocean energy, deep sea exploration, and naval oceanography. India's dual policy of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Sagarmala links self-reliance and blue economy growth. Mazagan Dock Shipbuilders, Garden Research, and Goa Shipyard produces naval and commercial crafts. Larsen & Toubro bridges submarine construction, offshore infrastructure. However, ladies and gentlemen, to realize such an integration, Pakistan must first confront its structural challenges. Pakistan maritime industrial ecosystem at best be described as fragmented and suffers from structural and operational challenges. This fragmentation is the major reason why the sector's contribution to the national GDP is 0.4% to 0.8% despite its inherent potential. Only 2% of GDP is spent on R&D, which is the lowest in the region as compared to 4.5% in South Korea. Maritime blindness pervasively impedes research and maritime-related subjects. Absence of a clear legal framework for defense and civilian industrial cooperation hinders private investment. Complex and inconsistent tax policies, cumbersome tax and trade procedures, bureaucratic red tape, weak contractual enforcement, and a general lack of policy consistency accentuates bottlenecks in business environment. There exists a significant gap between skills, education level, and types of jobs available in the labor market and those sought by the workforce. We stand at 168th out of 193 on UNDP Human Development Report, which is a low human development category. Historically, the National Economic and Development Strategy has been fixated on land resources, leading to the continuous neglect of the vast maritime potential. Pakistan's share of global shipbuilding output is negligible. The global market is overwhelmingly dominated by China, South Korea, and Japan, which together accounts to close to 90% of the total shipping output. Ladies and gentlemen, these challenges are not insurmountable. They simply indicate need for institutional alignment, policy coherence, and a visionary investment. Having said that, every challenge has an opportunity. To avail these opportunities and harness the God-given potential in our country, we need to create dual-use maritime industrial complexes in Pakistan that necessitates a strategic approach through an exclusive, long-term national blue growth policy, which clearly defines goals for both commercial exploitation and national security requirements. This would essentially need a regulatory framework that streamlines the rules of business, attracts investment, and adopts international standards apart from incentivizing private sector to take lead in joint ventures. For infrastructural development, we need to fast-track integrated maritime industrial complexes at Port Qasim and Gwadar, ensuring robust infrastructure. Investment in shipbuilding, whereby Gwadar shipyard and licensing of private shipyards should be assigned a national priority. Academic institutions should be linked with the defense and commercial production industries through a multifaceted approach involving structured collaboration, joint R&D projects, human resource development, and policy-level initiatives. That is the triple helix model of academia, industry, and government. We should support startups in autonomous vehicles, predictive maintenance, robotics, green propulsion, and contemporary technologies through science and technology parks, incentives such as PMSTP. Creating partnerships and joint ventures with successful models such as STM and Hyundai Heavy Industries to kickstart maritime industrial growth. Ladies and gentlemen, if Pakistan successfully integrates naval modernization, defense production, and blue economy as a synergistic hub industry, this integrated approach would leverage national security needs to drive economic growth, technological innovation, and sustainable use of marine resources. These dividends would draw for shared facility, and supply chains will reduce cost and increase innovation output and generate thousands of direct and indirect jobs. The government of Pakistan has a vision to increase the maritime sector's contribution to national GDP from 0.8% to 4%, with a long-term goal of the blue economy contributing more than 100 billion by year 2047. Defense and commercial shipbuilding exports could collectively and significantly add to this growth. Local production of propulsion systems, composites, and sensors will reduce import dependence. And finally, a robust domestic maritime industrial complex would enhance deterrence, resilience, and sea-based not critical of warships but national industry systems, but renewable energy solutions. Let our maritime embody both security and sustainable prosperity. If we succeed, we will also have a fishing trawler, a research vessel, and an offshore platform. This is how nations evolve a maritime participant into a maritime power. And in my reckoning, ladies and gentlemen, is how Pakistan will chart its course towards self-reliant maritime future where the sea becomes and prosperity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for shedding light on a very impactful and thought-provoking topic.
Our final speaker for today is Mr. Mohammad Mubashir Hussain, Marketing Manager at 𝐒𝐞𝐬𝐿 Private Limited. He will address on the topic, Impact of Emerging Technologies in Developing Industries. His presentation time and blue economy sectors.
Really essential for Pakistan's industrial growth. Pakistani industries needs to have efficient production facilities. They must adopt localization and be competitive to survive. During my talk, I will highlight some key emerging technologies in the developing industries and how Connect Act, to which I belong, is helping Pakistan industry adopt such technologies. I will now list some key emerging technologies. First one is artificial intelligence and machine learning. They are helping analyze large amount of data generated by industrial sensors that can be used for predicting major faults and optimizing processes to avoid expensive shutdowns. And next is the Internet of Things, or IoT, or Industry 4.0. It provides interconnected sensors, devices, and machines that ensure automated industrial processes, real-time monitoring, and smart manufacturing with minimal human intervention. On number 3 is robotics and automation. It is used for automated manufacturing, quality assurance, and operation in harsh or remote environment. Next is the advanced energy system, renewable energy and storage. With industrial power costs being a key challenge for Pakistan, employing energy efficient machines and power generation using renewable energy resources like solar and wind are really essential. Storing energy is possible, but is expensive. Next comes cybersecurity. In this era, in which major industrial equipment are interconnected through the internet, for real-time remote controls, cybersecurity is essential to avoid cyber attacks. Next come additive manufacturing, 3D printing, and reverse engineering. They are required for local manufacturing of essential spare parts that Pakistan industries require. And finally, space, geospatial, and remote monitoring, where the satellite is required for smart agriculture. That same data can be used for fleet management and providing call and data connectivity at remote locations throughout Pakistan. Now I will highlight the developing industries in Pakistan. Some of them are in the phase of development or are somewhat transforming. First one is manufacturing. Their share in GDP is declining with time. This shows a challenge and opportunity for upgrades. Next is textile and apparel. They are the largest employers and have 60% share in Pakistan export. Next come agriculture and agro-processing. Agri-tech, smart farming, and automatic agro-processing are growing by time. Next come energy and renewables. Given Pakistan's energy constraints and cost pressures, industries are adopting the use of renewable energy resources and energy storage. Distribution companies like 𝐾 Electric are inclined towards the use of smart grids. Next comes assembling and usage of EVs is growing in Pakistan, will lead to lesser petroleum imports, inshallah. Next come industrial instrumentation and automation. As industries upgrade, demand for industrial real-time control and monitoring is increasing with time. And finally, maritime, marine, and blue economy. Given PIMEC focus, industries offering maritime, ports, shipbuilding, and offshore infrastructure building services are also developing. Now the main topics, the impacts of emerging technologies. And I will give some concrete examples to explain how emerging technologies can impact the developing industries. Number 1 is manufacturing and textiles. Like I mentioned, IoT, or Internet of Things, and sensors and automation solutions can reduce downtime, improve yield, and enable predictive maintenance. Agriculture and agro-processing. Data obtained through drones and geospatial data from satellites can help optimize irrigation and save water, which is a very essential commodity for Pakistan. Reduce fertilizer and pesticide usage and ensure optimum crop health. Energy systems. Use of renewable energy resources reduce power costs, and smart grids improve grid stability, thereby enabling industrial growth. Automotive and EVs. Energy efficient and locally manufactured BLDC motor drives, power electronic systems, battery system, and their optimum system integration assist the localizing efforts of industries. reducing dependence on expensive imports. Maritime marine industries. Digital twins, automation, remote monitoring, and predictive maintenance is made possible. Now I will highlight the contribution of 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐿, to which I belong. 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐿, which is assisting developing industries of Pakistan in adopting the emerging technologies. 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐿 specializes in developing, co-creating, and commercializing advanced and emerging technologies with a focus on industrial, agriculture, biotechnology, and health sciences. Some major capabilities are instrumentation and control, calibration services, condition monitoring, digital control system design, robotics and automation, 3D printing, and reverse engineering. Services offered include on-site heavy equipment calibration, failure analysis, design and fabrication of industrial plant components, enabling industries to raise quality and reliability locally. 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐿 can also have industries move from reactive to predictive maintenance and assist with localizing critical components like motor drives and spare parts. For energy sector, 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐿 is mainly offering industrial UPS and for EVs, BLDC motors and their controllers. For maritime applications, 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐿 can offer instrumentation and control, condition monitoring and automation services relevant to shipbuilding, port maintenance and offshore installation. And 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐿 also provides training for welding and non-destructive testing inspections. 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐿's vision is connecting technologies for localization and innovation for national prosperity. And at the end, I'll encourage you to identify any one core area in your organization where an emerging technology could yield significant benefit and deploy a pilot project. And I will end my presentation. I am confident that by embracing emerging technologies and supporting developing industries, Pakistan can accelerate its industrial growth, create more jobs, and reduce import dependence. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for emphasizing the transformative role of emerging technologies in driving industrial innovation and strengthening maritime economic growth.
We now request our Honorable Chief Guest, President NEMA Vice Admiral Dr. 𝐿 𝐻𝐈 Military, to kindly address the audience, followed by a souvenir presentation ceremony and a group photograph.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. May the blessings of Allah be upon you. Excellencies, foreign dignitaries, flag officers, members of the business community, academia, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. As we conclude today's session, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the speakers for their very valuable contribution in making this session a success. The discussions today have reaffirmed that realizing Pakistan's blue economy potential is also about financial innovation, central to its integration into the national economy through innovative approach in framing our maritime policies and governance regimes. A report by the Ocean Potential states that signifies that a single dollar invested into the maritime side has a minimum sure potential of 5 times return, and in many other cases, it is much higher than that. This multiplier effect is already evident in many ASEAN economies that prioritized connectivity, streamlined the supply chain management, modernized their ports, and established efficient banking and trade systems. They have also embraced the cutting-edge technologies such as AI-driven port management, digital documentation, and advanced maritime domain awareness systems. As today morning, I just returned from Malaysia today, attending a convocation in Netherlands Maritime University at Johor Bahru. Over 350 graduates received their degrees And this is another avenue of human resource where the potential lies between 6 to 8 billion. This university is a private university, and it was constituted and erected by 3 maritime related captains, those who was graduated from Pakistan. And you can imagine that the contribution of Malaysian maritime industry into their overall GDP is around 40%. And where do we lie is 1.5%. So we have heard strong calls for reforming our financial frameworks, improving investors' confidence, and adopting new instruments such as blue bonds and dedicated blue economy funds to mobilize capital for the maritime growth. The creation of a Maritime Chamber of Commerce and Industries is another timely step in this direction, aimed at reinforcing and fostering a stronger climate of trust and investment across the entire spectrum of maritime field. Ministry of Maritime Affairs envisions the comprehensive blue economy framework under the title of Maritime at 100. That is to unlock our $100 billion by 2047 through exploitation of strategic deep sea resources and the advancement of marine renewable energy systems, a vision that reflects Pakistan's long-term commitment to sustainable ocean-based growth. What Pakistan needs the most is, at the top, is the political will and a vision that connects ports to the communities and positions Pakistan as a country, a credible maritime nation. The way forward lies in aligning our maritime economy with the global best practices of supply chain management, building investors' confidence through transparency and pursuing long-term strategies. Similarly, encouraging greater focus on integrating maritime technologies and defense innovation can also play its due role. To realize this, financial mechanism must be modernized, domestic investment expanded, and dedicated resources directed towards the ports, logistic, fisheries, tourism, and coastal developments. This will only happen when the local investors and the business community sees the maritime domain as a high forum frontier. The blue economy is not a peripheral to Pakistan's progress. I must say, rather, it is central theme only if, as a nation, we think and we realize. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We request the chief guest to kindly remain on the stage, and I also request Vice Admiral Irfan Ahmed, 𝐒𝐿𝐴 Military, 𝐶𝐒 Jurrat, to now give away the souvenirs to our worthy speakers. Mr. 𝐒𝐿𝐴 𝐶𝐶.
Commodore Ehsan Ahmed Khan, 𝐶𝐒 Military.
Mr. Jahzeb Sikandar. Mr. Muhammad Mubashir Hussain.
We now request our esteemed speakers and Team NEMA to please join the Honorable Chief Guest for a group photograph. Thank you.